Hello and welcome back to my Let's Challenge of Final Fantasy XIII. In the last episode, we were continuing to make our way through Chapter 5, through the Gapra Whitewood, here with Lightning and Hope. And yeah, we did a lot of work getting through we've done the last few episodes have both been very successful in getting us through these various the challenges of this area, and now we're hoping to, I would probably say we will most likely finish this area in, hopefully pretty soon. Hopefully in this episode, I should say. So, our first encounter with the Guardian Corps of this area. So naturally, as usual, we're going with the usual strategy of attacking the armed soldiers first, and then taking the melee soldiers later on. Now we know from that actually essentially these guys are immune to fire. As you might expect from when they work in an area where all of the enemies are somewhat weak to fire, they themselves are immune to it, and obviously can use various fire attacks, I believe. I am actually just going to Libra you. Yeah, there you go, Mana Drive Fire. If a soldier can generally use a mana drive of a certain type, it very much tells you what sort of elemental enemies he might have to face, or what sort of elemental enemies are in his area. So in this case, obviously, they're immune to fire, and they can do fire. They can use fire spells, and they themselves are actually weak to ice. So now we're going to get another Velacycle. I believe this is the Milvus Velacycle. As with the other Velacycles, it is named after a bird of prey. Or a genus, I should say, of bird of prey. So you can see that Hope's gone for Bar Frost here, which obviously means that these guys are going to... this guy, sorry, is going to use some form of ice-type move. So have some sort of ice elemental attack. Is it weird that I've only just now realised the similarity between the type, sort of the elemental affinities in this game and Pokemon? Maybe that's why I like this game so much. Nah, I can't, they're very different games, you can't really compare them. But anyway, so, key with these guys is just to stagger them relatively fast. They're obviously, as with most Velacycles, they're only really dangerous when they're in conjunction with other enemies, usually the soldiers or whatever. Nice, there we go, nice and simple. Let's just go to enemy intel. I just want to see. So we've got Core Markman. That's the guy we just met. Core Watchman are the people also. So we do need to Libra a Core Marksman, and then we'll have everyone complete in terms of Libra. Hopefully. So, now, yes. The other thing that you often find is not only can the guys with the guns generally do slightly more damage, they also have the capabilities often of buffing, whilst the melee enemies generally get mana drives which allow them to use specifically, usually, aggressive like specifically use like offensive spells like fire or just actual elemental spells. What the armed soldiers generally get buffs for their for their compatriots. So in this case, obviously they got. I really need to actually swap to healing after this. But anyway. So in this case, obviously he gets Fire, which adds fire type affinity to their physical attacks. So their physical attacks are no longer just they actually have a fire base fire attribute to them as well. And you see that a lot with other ones. They get very they might get an elemental thing. They might get something like bravery. They might get vigilance. They might get some other form of buff that helps their helps the melee soldiers. So there we go. Another. I don't know. I think I was talking too much through that one, and as such was doing it rather badly. But anyway. So yes, now the last stretch. So we have actually just got one more battle before the boss, which is that one just ahead of us. 2 marksmen and a Velacycle. We need to save for obvious reasons. So, final battle before the boss. We have Max Crystarium, we have Max, we have pretty decent, like, I haven't upgraded my equipment at all, but I wouldn't really worry about doing that at all. And I've got to remember to change comms in. I still haven't done that somehow, but yeah. Nice. That was a good position for Blitz. So yeah, so obviously the section where you actually fight the soldiers in this level is very short. But I will say that the boss at the end of this area is really, really good, I think. It's a really fun boss to do. Oh man, we're going to lose that. Whoa, how did you get so low? That got a bit close for comfort there. I think he was down to like 30 odd health, so just got to pay attention a bit more. But anyway, gonna obviously stay aggressive here. We've seen already that these guys go down very quickly once they're staggered, so as soon as we get stagger, we'll be good. So triple beam is this guy's sort of special attack. I believe it does ice elemental damage. That would be why we would be casting Bar Frost. It does 400 hit points actually. Wow. But so yeah, it's obviously a very good thing that we healed. A pity we could get stagger just before that attack was launched. That would have been nice. But anyway. So now you're staggered. Yeah, you still have normal everything. So you're now no longer weak to. Come on, you'll be fine, hope. There we go, nice. Wasn't close at all to Hope dying there, so fine. Okay, so now we have this lovely area here, and you have a very good feeling, sense there, Hope, it must be said. So, because this is the boss, Super Soldier is the best thing to start off with. We want to get primarily. He'll work on Protect and Shell to start off with, but really we just both need Protect, and then we'll get into dual casting and start trying to stagger this guy. This is a fun battle. I really enjoy this battle, but on slow it can be quite dangerous, and you just got to be careful, and never be afraid just to go to double dose or symbiosis and just like get fully defensive when it comes to it. Yeah, if you need to be defensive in this battle, it's more than fine. So, we use the lift up, and we meet our great enemy.
This is it. Operation Nora.
So here we have the Aster Proto-Florian, one of a very interesting enemy to face. So we're going to Libroscope you, rather than using to TP. So yeah, like I said, we're going to concentrate on getting Protect on both of us. There we go, nice. And now we're going to dual casting. Now, there's a pretty high stagger resistance, so not only does it take a while to get the... takes a while to get the stagger going, and also it goes down relatively fast. So yeah, we'll constantly have to keep on going into defensive modes like this, and consistently using commandos just to stall that that stagger from going down. So now, what will also happen with this enemy is that he can exo-proof. So there you go, exo-proofing lightning. So what exo-proofing lightning does is it means that essentially it reduces its weakness to... so it makes it completely impervious to electric type attacks. And makes it weak to... in this case it makes it weak to water. So essentially if it exo-proofs lightning, it's weak to water. If it exo-proofs water, it's weak to lightning. If it exo-proofs ice, it's weak to fire. And if it exo-proofs fire, it's weak to ice. All of its moves are now got lightning elemental attributes, which makes them much more dangerous just because it does a lot more damage. The key thing about this is that you've just got to keep juggling. You've got to make sure that you never let that stagger go down, because if you do, then it just the battle becomes so long and really annoyingly long-winded. So, unfortunately, Hope only has 2 of the 4 elemental bar spells. So he's obviously got bar fire and bar fire and bar frost, which means he can obviously defend against fire and ice in this case. So we will, as soon as he heals himself, because we do need the healing, we go to Super Soldier and we get bar frost on both of our people, because that's really going to help. Just sort of cancels out obviously his okay, so now if we go to dual casting, he's now obviously weak to fire. We can spam fire spells to our hearts to light. So now usually this would take 2 staggers, I'd expect, so I'm going to interrupt your attack there because I don't want you hurting us. Hope. Obviously we will be able to juggle to an extent. We can use attack. You know, we can get launch to work really nicely here. And as long as as long as your attacks are slightly out of kilter, such that you sort of you're never attacking at the same time, that's always useful. So we're just going to launch you, attack, and now let's get more fire spells in there. Because we are about to lose this stagger. So like I said, you normally would take 2 staggers. This is certainly going to take 2 staggers. We're now going to go to slash and burn. Start building up this stagger once more from the start. So you can see our protect is actually worn off. So I did not mean to go to one piece. I'm going to go to Super Soldier. So we really need that protect back on. That's actually going to do a good job of protecting me against that efflorescence, which is its one of its major attacking moves. So that's the one I... We don't really need to worry about Shell because this guy's magic attacks are nowhere near as dangerous as the physical ones. But they still do a fair amount of damage, so you just got to be aware of that. Anyway, we're in a pretty nice position here to start What's annoying is obviously if he, if he exoproofs to, the opposite affinity midway through like one of your attacks, and you're just like, really? Ah, yes. So that's the next of his various moves. And there we go. So we're now exoproof fire, which is actually rather interesting. It allows us to bar fire here, which is really nice. If he had exoproofed water, I think the exoproofing is relatively random as to which ones he actually chooses. But if he ever exoproofs water, you can obviously summon Odin as lightning, and Odin can do a lot of damage because obviously he is a lightning elemental. You end up doing a lot of damage just with that. So Efflorescence is going to come in, it's going to do a bunch of damage to me. But we're still, unfortunately, obviously, whilst in certain scenarios, both of our Ravagers in Lightning and Hope have super effective elemental moves. In this case, Lightning does not know Blizzard, so we can't do anything super effective, unfortunately. But that's super effective. You can't exploit a weakness, maybe. I am using a lot of Pokemon language at the moment. So, still, this should be the end. We should get to Stagger here, and then it should just be a very simple slash and burn to finish. There we go, nice hits. So just to finish off, we will go through the name. The Aster Protoflorian just essentially comes from, obviously Aster is a genus of flowering plants. The word proto is essentially just means first, so it's like a prototype, for example. And Florian is obviously just sort of alluding to the flower-like sort of nature of it. But there we go. We finish off our boss. We finish off chapter 5. We did that really quick, nice, 6:30. Within 2 staggers is really good. I always would say if you can do that within 2 staggers, you've done a pretty decent job. We're obviously going to get an expansion of our Crystarium, which we don't need to worry about because there are no more battles for these 2 in this chapter.
Operation Nora, stage 1 complete.
You did well.
So we're here at the maintenance exit of the Gapper Wood, ready to approach Palampolum, Hope's hometown. So like I'll show you, our Crystarium have now expanded. We could go even further. I believe it's even more expensive. I know, only 230. So you could largely get a large number of those already. But again, we won't be using these characters for a while. For something that I always forget to do is we can actually remove these. Can I just remove it? How do I remove? Remove, there we go. You can remove these because obviously we won't be using these characters. And yeah, that's good. That is good. That is chapter 5 done. Next up is chapter 6 and getting back to Sazon Vanille, just dropping back in on them and seeing what they're up to. But we have this nice little path. We finally leave the blue forest. Oh, what looks like from behind? You just look at that. It's not really a particularly friendly looking place, is it? Anyway, so we'll head down here. You see the massive sort of lake in front of us and the city of Palampolum across the water.
That's it. Palampolum.
That's where you live, right? We'll stop in when we get there.
No. We're at sea now, and no one's there but my dad.
Hope, you need to let him know what happened.
So we get the option to save, which we will.
Time to hunt some lassie.
So what, we find him and that's that?
Don't get all hot and bothered.
Sarah, am I doing the right thing? Hold on!
Okay.
Jump! Sarah! Sarah. I went to the foul sea hoping to help her, but I was too late. Ow!
I knew you were hard-headed.
That was ow.
Snap to it. We're rolling out.
Yeah. Hunting the sea, right?
This is our chance. Do not let the sea escape. Move out.
I will keep my promise, Lightning.
So there we have another interesting cutscene, obviously giving more illustration as to how on earth Sarah ended up inside the vestige in the first place and all this sort of stuff. That is the end of chapter 5. So what we'll do is we will see the start of chapter 6, probably hopefully get our trophy for it, and then we'll call this episode to an end. It'll be a slightly shorter episode than usual, but most of these episodes end up stretching over, so having a short one sort of cancels things out quite nicely, I think.
Fresh air. Nice.
So, where are we headed?
Don't know.
You don't know? I thought you had somewhere in mind the way you took off.
I followed the smell.
What?
Smells nice. All naturey.
Just smells damp. And I think something bit me.
Hi.
Sky. Close
closest city that way is Palampola. That is not good. I wonder if those two are caught in the net.
What do we do?
What do we do? Right now, what can we do?
Right. No choice. We run the other way.
Which would be to Nautilus.
As we set off, it was like he'd forgotten that I was still there.
So here we are at the start of Chapter 6, the Sunlove Waterscape, one of my favourite chapters, just because, I mean, for one,
We need to clear these woods.
Vanille and Saz are a really fun pair to play as. They get to be really aggressive as we get our next trophy, another life. I believe that takes us up to 5, because we get 1 for... We've obviously got 1 for... I didn't realise you did that if you just stayed still, but anyway. Yeah, because we have 1 for completing every chapter, and then we have 1 for defeating the first enemy in the game, which we lost because we died in Chapter 4. But there we go. I dropped my controller. So here we are at the start of Chapter 6, ready to, explore what we've got here. But no, like I said, these two are a really fun pair to play as. You get both offensive synergists and offensive saboteurs, which means a lot of battles are very, go quite fast and very high-paced, and essentially it's far more about you trying to take them out faster than they can take out you, than a lot of the other battles, which can be sort of quite attritional and sort of like, you know, you have less options. So no, I do enjoy using Vanille and Saz, and I'm looking forward to this. I also like the music that just goes throughout the entirety of this chapter. I do, and I think it's a lovely area of the game. But all of that is to be saved for the next episode. I hope you have enjoyed this episode of my Let's Challenge of Final Fantasy XIII. Finally finished off Chapter 5. And I hope you will join me on the next, where we will begin Chapter 6. I will see you then.